That's for showing up like you forgot who runs this city.
Harlem, 1945. Bumpy Johnson's closest brother of 15 years just served him a $50 wine poisoned with arsenic bought with $30,000 from the Italians who want him dead. Bumpy knows it's poison. He's known for 2 weeks. Yet he still picks up the glass, whose glass is actually poisoned. To understand how it all led, here we go back to where it truly began. October 12th, 1945, Harlem, New York. The streets smelled like opportunity and danger in equal measure. Sugar Hill was glowing with money. The Cotton Club had closed its doors, but new joints were opening every week. Billie Holiday's voice drifted from brownstone windows. Men in sharp suits walked with purpose. Women in fox furs laughed on corners. The war was over. America had won. And Harlem was celebrating like every night was New Year's Eve. This was Bumpy's kingdom. Ellsworth Raymond Johnson. They called him Bumpy. Not because of his temper, though he had one. Not because he was rough, though he could be. They called him Bumpy because when he walked into a room, you felt it. Like hitting a bump in the road you didn't see coming. By the time you realized it was there, you'd already hit it. Too late to swerve. Too late to brake. Bumpy wasn't the biggest man in Harlem. 5'10". Average build. Wasn't the loudest. He rarely raised his voice. Wasn't the flashiest. His suits were expensive but understated. Dark colors, clean lines, nothing that screamed for attention, but he was the smartest. And in a world where muscle got you respect, brains kept you breathing. He'd built an empire from numbers, policy banking. The game was simple. People picked 3 numbers. If those numbers hit, they won. Most didn't. The house always won. Every corner in Harlem had a numbers runner working for Bumpy. Nickel bets, dime bets, quarters, pennies from washerwomen, dollars from doctors. It all added up. $50,000 a week flowing through his hands like water through a sieve. But Bumpy Johnson wasn't just about money. He had principles, lines he wouldn't cross, rules he lived by. One of those rules: no heroin. Not in Harlem. Not in his territory. Not while he was still breathing. The Italians had been pushing it for months, wanted to flood Harlem with it. Turn every corner into a shooting gallery. Turn every young man into a customer. Turn every mother's son into a skeleton with needle tracks running up his arms. They'd come to Bumpy 3 times with offers, partnerships, percentages. Cut you in for 30%, Bumpy. 40. 50 if you push it hard. We supply you, distribute, easy money, clean money. Nobody gets hurt. Every time Bumpy had said the same thing. No. Not in my Harlem. Not while I'm breathing. Take that poison somewhere else. The Italians didn't like that answer. Vito Genovese especially didn't like it. Vito believed Harlem was open territory. Believed his muscle and his connections meant he could move product wherever he wanted. Believed that saying no to Vito Genovese was the same as signing your death warrant. He believed wrong. But Vito Genovese wasn't a man who took no for an answer. When reason failed, when threats failed, when intimidation failed, Vito did what powerful men always did when they couldn't get what they wanted. He bought what he needed. He'd bought himself a traitor for $30,000. Raymond Coleman had been Bumpy's friend for 15 years. More than a friend, a brother. The kind of bond you don't fake. The kind you can't buy. The kind you build in blood and sweat and late nights counting money in basement rooms while police sirens wailed outside and gunshots echoed down streets that never slept. Ray they called him. Smooth talker, silver tongue, quick with a joke, even quicker with a gun when things went sideways. The kind of man who could talk a cop out of an arrest or talk his way into a high-stakes poker game with equal ease. He'd saved Bumpy's life back in '36 when some crews from Brooklyn thought they could move in on Harlem territory. Thought wrong. There'd been a meeting, supposed to be peaceful. Wasn't. Knives came out. Ray had taken a blade across his ribs protecting Bumpy. Deep cut. 6 inches long, Nearly bled out on the sidewalk outside the Savoy ballroom while Bumpy held pressure on the wound and screamed for someone to get a doctor. Bumpy had stayed with him in the hospital for 3 days, sat in that uncomfortable chair next to the bed, held his hand when the fever got bad, made sure the best doctors saw him, made sure his family ate while he recovered, made sure the hospital bills got paid, made sure Ray knew he'd never forget what he'd done. That was brotherhood. In 1938, when Ray wanted to learn about the finer things Bumpy had taught him, how to taste wine, how to read a room, how to walk into any space from street corners to penthouses and belong. They'd shared a bottle of Chateau Margaux that summer, sitting on the roof of Bumpy's building watching the sun set over Harlem, talking about the future. Ray had fallen in love with that wine, called it liquid silk, said it tasted like success, like everything they were building together. When Ray's sister got mixed up with a man who used his fists more than his words, Bumpy had handled it. Personally. Didn't send someone else. Went himself. Found the man in a bar on Lenox Avenue. Broke his fingers one by one. Slowly. Made sure he understood. Made sure he got the message clear. Touch her again, and I'll bury you where nobody will ever find you. The man left New York that night. Never came back. The sister was safe. Ray never forgot it. Brotherhood wasn't just blood. It was loyalty. Trust. Sacrifice. Knowing the man next to you would take a bullet, take a knife, take a beating before he'd let anything happen to you. Knowing he'd die before he betrayed you. Or so Bumpy had thought. But today, that trust was about to be tested. That loyalty was about to be measured. That brotherhood was about to be weighed against $30,000. And Bumpy was about to learn what 15 years of friendship was really worth. The phone call came at 5 in the evening. Bumpy was in his apartment on Sugar Hill reading the Amsterdam News cigarette burning in the ashtray beside him, jazz playing low on the radio. Coleman Hawkins on saxophone. Body and Soul. The song drifted through the room like smoke. The phone rang twice before he picked it up. Bump, it's Ray. The voice was light, casual, like any other Tuesday evening, like they were about to discuss dinner plans or which club to hit that night. What's good, brother? Listen, the Italians want to talk. Peace meeting. Tonight at Smalls, 11 o'clock. Back room. Bumpy took a drag from his cigarette, held the smoke in his lungs. Thought about it. They say what they want. Same thing they always want, territory heroin. But this time, they're serious about making a deal. No threats, no muscle. Just business. They want to work something out. Find common ground. Bumpy exhaled smoke slowly, watched it curl toward the ceiling. You believe that? Ray laughed. It sounded genuine, natural, like old times. I don't believe anything with those guys, Bump. You know that. But Lucky Luciano vouched for it. Called me himself. Said it's clean. Said Vito wants to end this thing before it turns bloody. Said nobody wants a war. Bad for everybody's business. Lucky Luciano. That name carried weight. Lucky had organized the 5 families, turned Italian street gangs into a structured empire, turned chaos into order. He didn't play games, didn't make promises he couldn't keep. If Lucky vouched for a meeting, it was worth considering. Still, something felt wrong, like a door slightly ajar in a house that should be locked, like a window open on a cold night. Nothing obvious, nothing you could point to and say, that's it, that's the problem. Just a feeling, a whisper in the back of his mind. You gonna be there? Bumpy asked. Of course, brother. Wouldn't send you into anything I wouldn't walk into myself. You know that. We're in this together. Always have been. There it was. The reassurance, the loyalty, the promise. Bumpy crushed his cigarette in the tray. All right, 11 o'clock, I'll be there. Good man. I'll see you there, Bump. We'll get this settled. One way or another. The line went dead. Bumpy sat there for a moment staring at the phone, listening to Coleman Hawkins finish Body and Soul, something in Ray Ray's voice, just a fraction off, like a piano key tuned slightly wrong. You wouldn't notice unless you were listening for it, unless you knew the instrument intimately, unless you'd heard it play 1,000 times before. Bumpy was always listening. He stood up, walked to his bedroom, opened the closet. 3 suits hung there. He picked the dark blue one, expensive fabric. Italian wool. Ironic wearing Italian cloth to meet Italian gangsters. But quality was quality. He laid it on the bed, then reached into the back of the closet and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside a .38 revolver, clean, oiled, loaded, 6 rounds. Bumpy checked the cylinder, snapped it closed, slipped it into his shoulder holster. The weight felt right, comfortable, like an old friend. Then he reached into his sock drawer and pulled out a thin knife. 4-inch blade, carbon steel, sharp enough to split a hair. He slid it into his right shoe between the leather and the sole. You couldn't see it, couldn't feel it when you walked, but it was there. Insurance. Then he got dressed. Slowly, methodically. Shirt, tie, jacket, each movement deliberate, preparing like a soldier before battle. Sometimes you had to walk into a trap to break it. Sometimes the only way out was through. Sometimes you had to let your enemies think they'd won before you showed them they'd already lost. Small's Paradise sat on 7th Avenue and 135th Street. The neon sign buzzed and flickered. Music thumped from inside bass line you could feel in your chest. People lined up at the door dressed to impress, hoping the doorman would let them in. Inside was where the magic happened. The main floor was packed. Wall to wall. A band was on stage, 7 pieces horn section, wailing drummer keeping time like a heartbeat. The dance floor was alive. Men in zoot suits spinning women in sequined dresses. Laughter, sweat, perfume and cologne mixing with cigarette smoke. Life happening at full volume. Bumpy walked through the crowd like he owned the place, because in a way he did. The owner, Ed Smalls, owed Bumpy money and favors. Every club owner in Harlem did. That's how the game worked. You wanted to operate in peace, you paid your respects. You paid your dues. A bouncer saw Bumpy coming and stepped aside, opening the door to the back hallway without a word. No questions. No hassle. Just respect. The hallway was quieter. Narrow. Red wallpaper. Low lights. The music from the main floor filtered through like a distant echo, like hearing a party from 3 blocks away. Bumpy walked slowly, deliberately, eyes adjusting to the dim light, ears listening for anything out of place. At the end of the hall was another door. Solid wood, no window, no glass, just thick oak that would stop a bullet if someone decided to shoot through it. Bumpy stopped in front of it, took a breath, listened. Voices inside, Italian accents, heavy. Brooklyn. Little Italy. The kind of accents that never went away no matter how long you lived in America. Laughter. The scrape of a chair on the floor. The clink of glasses. He straightened his tie, checked his jacket, made sure the gun sat right in the holster. Made sure nothing looked out of place. Then he knocked. 3 times. Firm. Confident. The voices stopped. Silence. Then footsteps approaching. Slow. Casual. The door opened. Ray Coleman stood there, smile wide, arms open, like he was greeting an old friend at a family reunion. "Bump, come on in, brother." Bumpy looked at him. Really looked at him. Studied his face the way you'd study a map before a long journey. Ray's smile was bright. Too bright. Like stage lights. Like someone had turned up the wattage. His handshake was firm. Too firm. Like he was trying to prove something, trying to convince himself as much as Bumpy. His eyes were wrong, darting, not meeting Bumpy's gaze for more than a second before flicking away, looking at the walls, the floor, anywhere but directly at Bumpy. And there it was again. That fraction of wrongness. That piano key out of tune. Bumpy stepped inside. The back room at Small's Paradise wasn't big. Maybe 20 feet by 20 feet. Deep red walls, paintings of jazz musicians hanging in cheap frames. Satchmo, Duke, Count Basie. A single chandelier hanging low, casting yellow light that made shadows dance in the corners. In the center, a large oval table, too small for the egos sitting around it. 20 men. Bumpy recognized most of them. Numbers runners who worked for him. Policy bankers who moved money through Harlem like blood through veins. A police sergeant in plainclothes, Detective Murray, who Bumpy paid $500 a month to look the other way when necessary. And 3 men Bumpy didn't know personally, but recognized from reputation. Italians. Genevieve's family. Up from Little Italy specifically for this meeting. The one in the corner caught Bumpy's attention first. Sal Benedetto, enforcer, muscle. The kind of man who solved problems with his fists and his gun and didn't lose sleep over it. Scar running from his left eye down to his jaw, thick and raised like a rope. Word was he'd gotten it in a knife fight in '39. The other guy had gotten a grave. Sal sat with his legs spread wide, coat open, hand resting near his waistband where Bumpy could see the bulge of a gun. In his other hand, a knife, small, sharp, switchblade. He was cleaning his fingernails with it, not hiding it, making a show of it, making sure Bumpy saw, making sure everyone saw. That was a message. A threat delivered without words. The other 2 Italians sat at the table, one fat, one thin. The fat one had a cigar the size of a baby's arm. The thin one had eyes like a shark. Dead. Flat. The kind of eyes that had seen too much and felt too little. And at the head of the table, standing holding a wine bottle like a trophy, Ray Coleman. Gentlemen. Ray said, voice carrying that fake cheerfulness again. Bumpy Johnson has arrived. Polite applause, fake smiles, handshakes that lasted a second too long or not long enough. Everyone playing their part in a theater production nobody wanted to be in. The air smelled like cigar smoke and expensive cologne mixed with cheaper whiskey. Someone had been drinking before Bumpy arrived. Dutch courage, liquid bravery, getting ready for whatever was about to happen. Ray guided Bumpy toward the head of the table, hand on his shoulder, like they were still brothers. Like nothing had changed. Like $30,000 hadn't bought his soul. Your seat, Bump, head of the table. Where you belong. Bumpy looked at the chair. High-backed, leather, positioned with its back to the corner, no windows behind it. One door to the left blocked by 3 men. If shooting started, he'd be trapped. Boxed in. Easy target. Still refusing the seat would be an insult. Weakness, disrespect. Bumpy sat. But he didn't lean back. Didn't relax. Didn't get comfortable. Kept his spine straight, feet flat on the floor. Weight balanced, ready to move in any direction at any moment. His eyes swept the room in one smooth motion. 2 doors. One he'd come through. One on the opposite wall, probably leading to the kitchen or the alley. 3 windows, but they were covered with heavy curtains. Dusty. Nobody had opened them in months. 8 men carried guns. He could see the bulges under jackets. One man had his piece resting on the table next to his drink, not even trying to hide it. If bullets started flying, 4 men would die in the first 10 seconds. Bumpy had already decided which 4. Sal Benedetto first, the fat Italian second, the thin Italian third, Ray fourth. But Bumpy wasn't here to shoot anyone, not yet. Not if he could avoid it. Violence was easy. Any fool could pull a trigger. Any idiot could start a war. The hard part was winning without firing a shot. From the main room, the music leaked through the walls. Saxophone playing something slow and mournful. Like a funeral march. Like the band knew what was about to happen in this back room and was playing the soundtrack in advance. Ray moved around the table with the wine bottle filling glasses. Crystal glasses. Expensive. Not the cheap stuff they served at the bar. Someone had gone to trouble for this meeting. Someone wanted to impress. He reached Bumpy's spot and poured. The wine was dark red, almost black. It caught the light from the chandelier, glowing like a ruby, like blood in a vein. Chateau Margaux, 1937, Ray said softly, just for Bumpy. His voice had dropped, intimate, personal. Your favorite? Bumpy looked at the glass, then looked at Ray. Our favorite, Bumpy corrected quietly. Ray's smile flickered. Just for a second, like a light bulb about to die. Right. Our favorite. He finished pouring and set the bottle on the table. His hand trembled slightly as he did. Just a fraction. Most men wouldn't notice. Most men weren't paying attention. Bumpy noticed everything. Ray wiped his upper lip with the back of his hand. Quick, nervous. The room wasn't hot. The chandelier wasn't throwing much heat. But sweat was forming there anyway. Beating, gathering, fear sweat, guilt sweat. Interesting. Bumpy picked up the glass, held it to his nose, inhaled slowly. The wine smelled rich, complex, earthy, hints of cherry and oak and something else, something underneath, something bitter. He didn't drink. Ray poured himself a glass from the same bottle and sat down across from Bumpy. The other men settled into their seats, chairs scraping, ice clinking in glasses. The fat Italian lit his cigar smoke curling toward the ceiling. Sal Benedetto in the corner continued cleaning his nails with the knife eyes never leaving Bumpy. Watching. Waiting. The room settled into an uncomfortable silence. 20 men sitting around a table, nobody sure who should speak first. Ray broke it, stood up, raised his glass. Gentlemen, he said, voice trying for warmth and landing somewhere around forced cheerfulness. I'd like to propose a toast. Everyone looked at him, waiting, wondering. To new partnerships, to prosperity, to the future of Harlem. Chairs scraped as men stood, glasses raised. Even the Italians stood, though their smiles said they didn't give a single damn about Harlem's future. They were here for territory, for profit, for blood if necessary. The future of Harlem could burn for all they cared. 20 glasses in the air, crystal catching the light, wine glowing red. Except one. Bumpy's glass sat on the table, untouched, unraised. He didn't stand, didn't lift it, just sat there perfectly still, looking at Ray with eyes that saw everything. The room noticed. One by one, conversations died. The toast hung in the air unfinished. Men lowered their glasses slowly. Uncertain. Uncomfortable. Ray's smile faltered. The light behind his eyes dimmed. Just for a moment. Just long enough for Bumpy to see the crack in the mask. You not drinkin', Bump? Ray tried to keep his voice casual, light, friendly, like they were at a bar on a Saturday night, not in a room full of killers at midnight. Bumpy looked at him. Really looked at him. Let the silence stretch. Let it get uncomfortable. Let everyone in the room feel the tension building like steam in a kettle. He saw the sweat on Ray's upper lip that had nothing to do with heat. Saw the way his eyes kept flicking toward Sal Benedetto in the corner, checking, making sure. Saw the way his hand trembled just slightly as he held his own glass. The wine moving, rippling. Saw the fear written all over him. Ray was afraid. Not of the Italians. They were paying him. They were his protection. His ticket to a new life. He was afraid of Bumpy. Spore why? What did Ray know that Bumpy didn't? Or worse, what did Ray think Bumpy didn't know? I'm savoring the moment, Bumpy said quietly. The words landed like stones in still water. The room went silent. The kind of silence that happens when everyone knows something terrible is about to occur, but nobody knows exactly what. The kind of silence before a lightning strike, before a building collapses, before a bomb goes off. Ray laughed, but it sounded wrong. Hollow. Like laughing in a graveyard at midnight. Like laughing at a funeral while the casket was being lowered. What moment? It's just wine, brother. Brother. That word again. Bumpy let it hang in the air like smoke. Let it settle. Let it echo. Let everyone hear it. Hear how wrong it sounded. How empty. Brother, Bumpy repeated slowly, testing the word, rolling it around, seeing if it still fit after what was about to happen. Yeah, brother. Bumpy picked up the wine glass, slowly, deliberately. Every movement calculated, held it up to the light from the chandelier. The red wine caught the glow, deep, dark, beautiful, like blood backlit by fire. This is good wine, Ray, Bumpy said conversationally, casually, like they were discussing the weather. 1937. Chateau Margaux. Must have cost you, what, $40, $50. Worth every penny for my brother. Ray said, but his voice cracked on the word brother, split, fractured. Bumpy nodded, thoughtful, like he was considering this statement seriously. Funny thing about French wine, Bumpy continued, still not drinking, still holding the glass up, examining it. During the war, the Nazis occupied Bordeaux. They stole most of the good vintages, looted the cellars, took them back to Germany. Officers drank them while Paris starved, while France bled. He turned the glass slowly, watching the wine move, thick, coating the crystal. But this bottle right here, it survived the occupation. Somebody hid it, protected it, kept it safe from people who wanted to take what wasn't theirs. Sal Benedetto shifted in his seat. His hand moved slightly toward his jacket, toward the gun resting there. Bumpy's eyes cut to him, sharp, fast, like a blade. You got somewhere to be, Sal. Sal froze. His hand stopped moving. His whole body went still. The jazz from the main room leaked through the walls, saxophone playing something slow, mournful, the kind of music they play at funerals when the casket is being carried out. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The air was thick enough to cut. Bumpy set the wine glass down on the table. Without drinking, the sound of crystal on wood echoed in the silence. He looked at Ray, stared at him. Let the silence build like pressure in a boiler, like water behind a dam. Let it get so heavy that it pressed down on everyone in the room until they could barely breathe. Then he asked the question, You know what arsenic tastes like, Ray? The room went cold. Every man felt it. The temperature drop, the shift in the air, like someone had opened a door to winter, to death, to the grave. Ray's face drained of color, from brown to gray in 2 seconds, like watching blood leave a body. Bump, I don't know what you... Bitter almonds, Bumpy interrupted. His voice was calm, quiet, controlled. More terrifying than shouting would have been, more dangerous than rage. Faint. Most people wouldn't notice it in wine this rich. Most people would take a sip, compliment the vintage, tell you how smooth it goes down, and be dead in 40 minutes. Maybe less if the dose is strong enough. Heart stops, lungs stop, brain shuts down, just like turning off a light. He stood up, slowly, like a wolf rising from the grass before the attack. Every movement deliberate, controlled, deadly. Every man in that room watched him. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Time seemed to slow down, stretch out. But I'm not most people. Ray's hand went to his waistband where Bumpy knew he kept a .38, loaded, safety off, ready to fire. But Bumpy was faster, not with a gun, with words. Don't. One word. That's all it took. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a plea. It was a fact. A statement of reality delivered in a voice that carried the weight of 15 years of brotherhood and 1 night of betrayal. You pull that gun, Sal shoots you before you clear leather. That's the deal, isn't it? You poison me, they kill you, and it looks like we killed each other. Clean. Simple. No blowback on the Genovese family. Vito walks away. Clean. Harlem is open, and two problems solve themselves. Ray Ray's hand stopped, froze halfway to the gun. His whole body locked up like someone had poured concrete in his veins, like rigor mortis had set in while he was still alive. Sal Benedetto was staring at Bumpy like he was seeing a ghost, a dead man talking, a corpse that refused to lie down. "How did you?" Sal started. "How did I know?" Bumpy smiled, and it was the coldest smile anyone in that room had ever seen. The kind of smile that said, "I'm 10 steps ahead of you." The kind of smile that said you were dead the moment you walked in here and you just didn't know it yet. Because I've known for 2 weeks. Ray Ray's hand stopped, frozen, his whole body seized, like someone had hit him with electricity, like his muscles had forgotten how to work. Why did he stop? Because in that moment, Ray understood. Bumpy had known everything, had walked into this room with eyes wide open, had let Ray pour the wine, had let the Italians think they'd won, which meant Bumpy had a plan, which meant they were already dead and just didn't know it yet. The question hanging in the air unspoken but screaming in everyone's mind. What did Bumpy know that they didn't? What card was he about to play? And who was going to die when he played it? He reached into his jacket. Every man in that room tensed. Hands went to guns. Fingers touched triggers. The air crackled with violence about to be unleashed. Bumpy pulled out an envelope. Not a gun. An envelope. White. Standard size. The kind you'd use to mail a letter. Nothing special about it except what was inside. He tossed it on the table in front of Ray. It landed with a soft thud, heavier than it looked. "Open it." Ray's hands trembled as he reached for it. His fingers fumbled with the flap. Took him 3 tries to get it open. Finally, he pulled out what was inside. Photographs. His face went from white to gray, like watching a man die in real time. "That's you," Bumpy said calmly. "Meeting with Sal Benedetto at the Riviera Lounge 3 weeks ago." The photograph showed Ray and Sal sitting at a corner booth, heads close together, talking, conspiring. Bumpy tossed another photograph onto the table. "That's you accepting an envelope." Ray reaching across the table, Sal handing him something. The exchange caught perfectly by whoever had taken the shot. Another photograph. "That's you counting $30,000. Ray in what looked like his apartment, money spread on a table, bills in neat stacks, his hands touching them, counting them, making sure it was all there. One more photograph. "That's your mama wearing that new fur coat. Nice coat. Real nice. Shame where the money came from." Ray looked like he was going to be sick. His face had gone green, sweat pouring down now. Not just his upper lip, his whole face, his neck, soaking through his collar. The photographs lay scattered on the table like accusations, each one a nail in a coffin, each one proof that betrayal leaves evidence, that secrets don't stay buried, that Bumpy Johnson saw everything. "See, Ray," Bumpy continued, voice still calm, still controlled. "I've known about the meeting, known about the money, known about tonight." He let that sink in, let it settle. Let Ray understand the full scope of his failure. "You think I walked in here blind?" The question hung in the air like smoke, like the ghost of their friendship, like the last breath before drowning. Ray couldn't speak, couldn't move, just stared at the photographs like they were snakes about to strike. Then Bumpy delivered the killing blow. "I switched the glasses, Ray." The words took a moment to register, like watching someone get shot. There's a delay between the bullet entering and the body understanding it's dying. Ray Ray's eyes went wide, wider than humanly possible. His pupils dilated until they swallowed the color. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. He looked down at his own wine glass, the one he'd raised for the toast, the one he hadn't drunk from yet, the one sitting in front of him, dark red, glowing in the chandelier light like a ruby, like blood, like death in crystal form. "No," Ray Ray whispered. The word barely made it past his lips, barely had the strength to exist. "Oh, yes," Bumpy said. There was something almost gentle in his voice, like a doctor delivering bad news, like a priest giving last rites, like a judge reading a sentence to a man already dead. "The one you poured for me, that's the clean bottle. The one in your hand, that's the one with the arsenic. My people swapped them while you were busy greeting our Italian friends." The room had gone absolutely silent. Even the music from the main floor seemed to have stopped, like the whole world was holding its breath, waiting, watching, bearing witness to betrayal, eating itself. Bumpy looked at Ray Ray's glass, then back at Ray Ray. His eyes were cold, colder than winter, colder than death. "Now drink. Bump, please." Ray Ray's voice cracked, broke, shattered. 15 years of friendship in those two words. 15 years of brotherhood, of loyalty, of trust, all of it begging for mercy in a voice that knew none was coming. "Drink," Bumpy said it again, not louder, not softer, just firm. Final. His voice was quiet, but it carried weight, the weight of betrayal, the weight of $30,000, the weight of a poisoned glass of wine and a friendship that had died the moment Ray Ray had taken Vito Genovese's money, the weight of 15 years against one night, and the one night was winning. Ray Ray was shaking, his whole body. The wine glass rattled in his hand, the liquid sloshed, dark red, almost black, death waiting patiently in crystal. But before Ray Ray could move, before he could drink or drop the glass or make any choice at all, Sal Benedetto jumped up. His chair clattered backward, hit the wall. The sound exploded in the silence like a gunshot. Gun drawn, chrome gleaming under the chandelier light, pointed directly at Bumpy's head. Center mass, professional. The kind of aim that came from years of practice, years of killing. "Nobody's drinking anything," Sal growled, Brooklyn accent thick as molasses. "We're leaving." Bumpy didn't even look at him, didn't flinch, didn't move a muscle. Just kept his eyes on Ray Ray, like Sal and his gun didn't exist. Like the threat of death was less important than watching a traitor squirm. "Sit down, Sal." 3 words. Calm. Quiet. An order given without raising his voice. "You think you're in charge here?" Sal's voice was rising, getting louder, more aggressive, trying to regain control of a situation that had already slipped through his fingers like water through a sieve. Bumpy turned to face him. Slowly. Deliberately. The movement was almost lazy. Like he had all the time in the world. Like a gun pointed at his head was just another Tuesday in Harlem. "In Harlem," Bumpy said quietly. "Always." One word, but it carried the weight of an empire. The weight of every corner, every building, every street, every man, woman, and child who knew Bumpy Johnson's name and what it meant. Sal's finger tightened on the trigger. The gun was steady, professional. This wasn't the first time Sal Benedetto had pointed a gun at someone's head. Probably wouldn't be the last. Unless tonight went differently than he planned. "One bullet, Johnson," Sal said, trying to sound confident, trying to sound like he was still in control, like he still had power here. "That's all it takes. 1 bullet." Bumpy agreed. He didn't seem worried, didn't seem concerned, didn't even seem particularly interested. Just stood there, hands at his sides, looking at Sal like he was looking at a child throwing a tantrum. And then what? The question landed like a punch. Sal blinked. Hadn't expected that. Expected fear. Expected begging. Expected Bumpy to back down. To surrender. To acknowledge the gun and what it meant. You think you're walking out of Harlem alive after killing me, Bumpy continued. His voice was conversational. Casual. Like they were discussing baseball scores. Weather. Anything but murder. Every black man within 10 blocks heard you were here. Every hustler, every runner, every shopkeeper, every woman sitting on her stoop, every kid playing stickball in the street, every preacher, every bartender, every taxi driver. He took a step forward. Sal's gun didn't waver, but something in his eyes did. A flicker, doubt creeping in like water under a door. You shoot me, and you start a war you can't win. Vito Genovese doesn't run Harlem. He never has. Bumpy took another step, closer to the gun, closer to death, fearless. He never will. The truth of it settled over the room like a blanket, heavy, undeniable. You couldn't argue with it because it wasn't an opinion. It was fact, history, reality. Bumpy pulled out a phone, set it on the table. The sound of it hitting wood was loud in the silence, final, like a gavel. Sal's face went pale, then paler, white as bone. But if you don't believe me, Bumpy said, voice still calm, still controlled, why don't we call someone who can explain it to you? Bumpy dialed. His movements were calm, measured, unhurried, like he was calling a friend to chat about dinner plans. His fingers moved across the dial. Click, 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 each rotation deliberate. The phone rang. Once, twice. Then someone picked up. Lucky, Bumpy said into the receiver voice, warm, respectful. It's Bumpy Johnson. I got a situation here that needs your input. Lucky Luciano. The name hit the room like a bomb, like an earthquake, like the hand of God reaching down to rearrange the furniture. Every man there knew that name, knew what it meant. Lucky Luciano had organized the 5 families, had turned Italian street gangs into a structured empire, had created the commission, had written the rules that everyone else followed, including Vito Genovese. Especially Vito Genovese. The room went absolutely silent. You could have heard a pin drop, could have heard a heartbeat, could have heard snow falling, could have heard prayers being whispered in heads that hadn't prayed in years. Bumpy listened for a moment. His face remained neutral, unreadable. But something in his eyes said the conversation was going exactly how he'd expected. He nodded once. I got 3 of Vito's boys here in Harlem, Bumpy said into the phone. His voice was calm, factual, just reporting the situation. They paid $30,000 to have me killed. Now they're pointing guns at me, talking about walking out like nothing happened. He paused, listening. His expression didn't change, but everyone in that room was watching him, hanging on every word, every breath. Uh-huh. That's what I thought. Bumpy looked at Sal, extended the phone, held it out like an offering, like a gift, like a sentence. Lucky wants to talk to you. Sal took the phone like it was a live snake, like it was a grenade with the pin pulled, like it was death itself, wrapped in plastic and metal. His hand was shaking now, the gun in his other hand forgotten. Lowered. Irrelevant. Boss, he said. His voice had lost all its confidence, all its aggression, all its power. He sounded like a kid called to the principal's office, like a soldier facing a court-martial. Whatever Lucky Luciano said in the next 30 seconds drained all the color from Sal's face. He went from pale to gray to almost green. His hand holding the phone gripped it so hard his knuckles went white. His other hand, the one with the gun, started to shake, the weapon trembling. Useless. Nobody could hear what Lucky was saying. but they could see what it was doing, could see Sal shrinking, deflating, the air going out of him like a punctured tire. When he hung up, his hands were trembling, both of them. The gun was still out, but it wasn't pointed at anyone anymore, just hanging there. Forgotten. A piece of metal that had lost all its meaning. "We're leaving," Sal said quietly. His voice was hollow, empty, defeated. "Not yet," Bumpy said. He sat back down, casual, relaxed, like the last 5 minutes hadn't happened, like there hadn't been a gun pointed at his head, like death hadn't been breathing down his neck. He pulled out a cigarette, tapped it on the table. Twice. Put it between his lips, pulled out a lighter, flicked it. The flame danced, cast shadows on his face, made him look dangerous, made him look like exactly what he was, the most powerful man in the room. He lit the cigarette, took a drag, exhaled smoke slowly, let it curl toward the ceiling, watched it rise, dissipate, disappear into nothing. "Here's how this works," Bumpy said. His voice was calm, reasonable, like he was explaining a simple business transaction, which in a way he was. "A man's life in Harlem costs $30,000. At least that's what you paid Ray Ray. So now you're going to pay me $30,000 for your lives." Sal stared at him. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Couldn't believe what he was hearing, couldn't process it, couldn't comprehend how the night had turned so completely upside down. "You're extorting us." It wasn't a question, just a statement. An accusation that had no power behind it. "I'm giving you a choice," Bumpy corrected. His voice remained calm, patient, like he was teaching a child. "I can kill all 3 of you right here, right now, and start a war that'll bleed both our families for years. Bodies piling up, cops getting involved, feds maybe, newspapers writing stories. Bad for business, bad for everyone." He took another drag from his cigarette. Let the smoke fill his lungs. Let the nicotine calm him. Not that he needed calming. He was already calm, already in control, already 10 steps ahead of everyone else in the room. "Or you can pay me $30,000, the same amount you spent trying to kill me, and we walk away from this. No war, no bodies, just business." He leaned forward, elbows on the table. The cigarette smoke curled around his face like a halo, like a crown. "What's it going to be, Sal? Your life for $30,000 or your pride for free?" The question hung in the air. Simple, direct, binary. Yes or no. Live or die. Pay or bleed. Sal looked at his 2 men. The fat one with the cigar, the thin one with the shark eyes. Both of them looked back at him, waiting, hoping he'd make the smart choice, hoping they'd get to see tomorrow, hoping their families wouldn't have to bury them this week. They both nodded, slowly, carefully. Agreement without words, survival over pride, life over death, money over ego. The fat one's eyes said, "Please." The thin one's eyes said, "Do it." Both of them said, "We want to live." "We'll get you the money," Sal said through gritted teeth. Each word tasted like poison, like defeat, like 30,000 reasons he'd failed tonight. 30,000 ways Bumpy Johnson had outsmarted him, outplayed him, outmaneuvered him without ever raising his voice. "You'll get it now," Bumpy said, not a suggestion, a command. "I know you brought it for Ray Ray, his second payment, half now half when the job was done. Hand it over." Sal's jaw clenched, muscle jumping under the skin, his teeth grinding together. He stared at Bumpy with pure hatred, the kind of hatred that burned, that consumed, that promised revenge if the opportunity ever came. But hatred doesn't stop bullets, doesn't win wars, doesn't pay debts, doesn't change the fact that Lucky Luciano had just told him to do exactly what Bumpy Johnson said. He reached into his coat. Slowly, carefully, everyone in the room watching, every gun ready, every finger on every trigger. ready to draw if he pulled out anything other than money. His hand emerged with an envelope, thick, heavy, bulging, full of cash that was supposed to buy a murder, that was supposed to buy Harlem, that was supposed to buy the future. Now it was just buying survival. Bumpy didn't touch it, didn't reach for it, didn't even look at it directly. Just nodded to one of his men, the policy banker sitting 3 seats down. A man named Marcus who'd been counting money for Bumpy for 8 years. Marcus took the envelope, opened it, started counting. His fingers moved fast. Professional. Bills slapping against bills. The sound of money changing hands. The sound of power shifting from one empire to another. The room watched. Silent. Bearing witness. Learning. Taking notes. Understanding that this was how Bumpy Johnson operated. Not with violence, not with threats, with intelligence, with patience, with the ability to turn an assassination into a payday. Marcus counted for 2 minutes. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Just the sound of bills being counted, the sound of defeat being tallied. Finally, Marcus looked up. 30,000, he confirmed. His voice was steady, professional, just stating facts. Good, Bumpy said. He crushed his cigarette in an ashtray, ground it out slowly, thoroughly, until it was nothing but ash and memory. Now you can leave. Sal holstered his gun, slowly, the chrome sliding back into leather, the threat disappearing, becoming irrelevant. A weapon that had failed without ever being fired. He buttoned his jacket, straightened his tie, trying to reclaim some dignity, some pride, some sense that he was still a man to be feared. But everyone in that room had seen him fold, had seen him pay, had seen him lose. He started toward the door. His 2 men followed. The fat one, the thin one, silent, defeated. 3 men who'd come to watch a murder and ended up paying for the privilege of staying alive. At the door, Sal stopped, turned back. One last attempt to save face. One last effort to pretend he still had power here. Vito's not going to forget this, he said. It was supposed to sound threatening, supposed to sound like a promise of revenge, like a declaration of war, like a guarantee that this wasn't over. But it came out weak, empty. The words of a man who knew he'd lost and was trying to convince himself he hadn't. Bumpy smiled. That cold smile again. The one that said, I'm not afraid of Vito. The one that said, I'm not afraid of anyone. The one that said, bring it. Lucky told you to pay, Bumpy said quietly. Each word deliberate, precise, final. You paid. That's the end of it. He paused. Let that sink in. Let Sal understand the full scope of what had just happened. Unless Vito wants to explain to Lucky why he's starting a war over a failed hit. The words landed like stones. Heavy. Solid. Undeniable. Because that was the truth. That was the reality. Vito Genovese could hate Bumpy Johnson all he wanted. Could dream of revenge. Could plot and plan and scheme. But he couldn't go to war without Lucky's permission. And Lucky had just sided with Bumpy. Had just drawn the line. Had just made it clear whose side he was on. Sal knew it. Everyone in the room knew it. The war was over before it started. Bumpy had won without firing a shot. Sal and his 2 men walked out. Through the door, into the hallway. The door closed behind them. The sound echoed in the sudden silence. The room stayed frozen. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Nobody spoke. Waiting to see what would happen next. Waiting to see if there was more. Waiting to see if the night was over or if more blood needed to be spilled. 5 seconds passed, each one feeling like an hour, like a lifetime, like the space between heartbeats when you're not sure the next one is coming. Then Bumpy turned his attention back to Ray Ray. Ray Ray was still sitting there, still holding the glass. The wine inside it dark, poisoned, death waiting patiently in crystal. His hands were shaking so badly the wine was sloshing, almost spilling, almost escaping. But there was no escape. Not from this. Not from what he'd done. Not from what he'd become. Not from the $30,000 he'd counted. Not from the betrayal he'd committed. Bumpy didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Just looked at Ray with eyes that had seen everything, had known everything, had waited for this moment for 2 weeks, had planned for it, had orchestrated it, had turned Ray's betrayal into Ray's execution. Ray looked at the glass in his hand, looked at Bumpy, looked back at the glass. His eyes were wet, tears forming, not falling yet, just gathering, building. The weight of 15 years trying to push through. There was no way out, no escape hatch, no miracle coming. The Italians were gone. The money was gone. His life was about to be gone. All that was left was the choice of how to end it, with dignity or without it. Fighting or accepting. Begging or drinking. He lifted the glass, slowly, like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Like it was made of lead instead of crystal. Like each inch it rose took a year off his life. Which in a way, it did. "Bump," he said. His voice was broken, shattered, barely human. "Brother, one last appeal. One last attempt to reach the man who'd saved his life in 36, who'd taught him about wine in 38, who'd protected his sister, who'd been closer than blood. One last hope that 15 years meant something, that brotherhood meant something, that mercy existed." Bumpy didn't answer, didn't move, didn't show mercy, didn't show anger, didn't show anything. Just watched. Cold. Calculating. Unmoved. Justice in human form, because mercy was for people who deserved it. And Ray had sold his right to mercy for $30,000. Ray brought the glass to his lips. The crystal touched his mouth. Cool, smooth, beautiful container for an ugly death. For betrayal come full circle. For poison served and poison drunk. The wine tilted, dark red, almost black. Like blood. Like the friendship that had bled out over the last 3 weeks while Ray counted money and made deals with Italians and poured arsenic into bottles of Chateau Margaux, 1937. He drank. The wine passed his lips, touched his tongue, slid down his throat, into his stomach, into his blood. The arsenic starting its work immediately, moving through him, shutting down systems, closing doors, turning off lights. The glass came down. Ray set it on the table. The crystal clinked against wood. Final. Done. The choice made. The poison drunk. The sentence carried out. His hand was still shaking. Would keep shaking for the next 7 minutes. Until it stopped forever. 7 minutes. That's how long it took for a man to die from his own poison. The first minute's sweat beaded on Ray's forehead like morning dew. He set the glass down, tried to smile. See, just wine. But his voice wavered. By the 3rd minute, his hands started shaking. Not the tremor of nerves anymore, something deeper, something cellular. His pupils dilated wide and dark. The 5th minute brought the panic. Ray grabbed his throat eyes, bulging with the terrible understanding that this was real, this was happening. There was no reversal, no mercy, no escape from the choice he'd made 3 weeks ago in the Riviera lounge. The 7th minute he couldn't scream. His mouth opened in a silent howl as his body convulsed. He collapsed forward onto the table, scattering the photographs of his betrayal like playing cards. The wine glass shattered on the floor, red spreading across the wood like accusation. Bumpy watched it all, never moved. Never spoke. Just counted the bills from the envelope while his oldest friend took his last breath 6 feet away. When Ray's body went still, Bumpy stood. He straightened his tie with the same calm precision he'd shown all night. Looked down at the man who'd taken a knife for him in 36, whose sister he'd saved, whose mother now wore a fur coat bought with blood money. A man's life is worth $30,000, Bumpy said quietly to the room. Make sure everybody knows. You cross Bumpy Johnson, it costs you everything, and I get paid either way. He walked out of Small's paradise that night, $30,000 richer. Behind him, Ray Coleman lay dead from the poison he'd meant for someone else. The next morning, Lucky Luciano called. One sentence. You handled that right. Respect. That was all. That was enough. The Italians never tried moving heroin into Harlem again. The back room of Small's stayed closed for 6 months. When it finally reopened, nobody would sit at that table. They said you could still smell the wine, still feel the weight of what happened there. But what really stayed was the lesson. Bumpy took the $30,000 and bought 3 buildings in Harlem, gave them to widows whose husbands died working the numbers, because this was never just about power, it was about principle. The principle was simple. You come for the king, you better not miss, and if you miss, you pay. Ray Coleman's name was never spoken in Harlem again, erased, forgotten. The $30,000 he was promised buried with him in an unmarked grave. But the $30,000 Bumpy took from the Italians that built Harlem. That fed families. That became legacy. October 12, 1945 became legend, not because Bumpy killed a traitor, plenty of men did that, but because of how he did it. He turned an assassination into a payday, turned war into business, made his enemies pay for the privilege of staying alive. No guns, no violence. Just intelligence, patience, and the coldest form of justice anyone had ever seen. That was Bumpy's code. That was his legacy. That was why when people whispered his name in Harlem streets, they did it with reverence and fear in equal measure. The king of Harlem didn't just survive. He won. Every single time.